Hello, folks. Welcome to Business Spotlight. Two things that I hear really commonly from business owners are one, Mark, my marketing doesn't work, and two, I need more leads. My guest today is somebody who knows all about that. So I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by my guest, Matt Beswick. Matt, it's great to see you. You run two marketing agencies, is that right? Aira and Blush.
I do, yeah. I'm not quite sure how that's happened, but yeah, that's right.
And you've had an unbelievable track record of getting results for your clients. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, and I can't take much, if any, of the credit for a lot of it. It's the team that do it, but we think we're good at what we do.
Brilliant, that's fantastic. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Aira and Blush? Let's start to dispel some of these marketing myths.
Sure. I suppose Aira is the larger of the two agencies. So we're just over 50 people and tend to work with clients that have marketing departments and larger scale budgets. Blush is actually my wife's agency that I kind of work in now and have my wife as my boss, which is slightly odd. But the client profile is a bit different as well. It's a bit smaller, so either owner managed businesses or businesses with one or two marketing people. So I get to see the split all the way from kind of big corporates all the way down to kind of what's going on in the kind of smaller SME and micro businesses, which gives me a kind of great view of what's actually going on in the world instead of having just this little section that you understand.
Fantastic, yeah, absolutely. And the challenges are different, but we all need more leads, right? So tell me, what is it that Aira and Blush? What's the problems that you solve for your customers?
It's generating revenue, really. We talk about marketing a lot, and people talk about doing SEO and doing PPC or creating content. And yes, that's definitely part of what both agencies do. But actually, marketing is about generating leads and generating kind of people into a business. And that could be through sales if you're an e-commerce business. It could be through inquiries if you're a service business. But the way that we think about it is that it is about adding revenue to the bottom line. So everything we do, we try and make it as measurable and understandable as it possibly can be. And I think that's maybe one of the things that we do a little bit differently.
Love it. And I don't know if you see this, Matt. I know that I do with a lot of the business owners that I talk to all the time, is that folks do a little bit of marketing. They'll try one thing, they'll do it for a couple of weeks, get really frustrated that it hasn't got any traction, and then go, oh, marketing's a waste of money. So tell me, come on, you're the professional marketer. Give us your view on that. What's your point of view?
I think that's really fair. And again, going back to seeing things from larger organizations and smaller organizations, you definitely find there's a lot of negatives about working with larger companies because of the red tape and so on. But what you generally find is that they really understand that it's a long-term play. So marketing isn't about doing something for a few months or a few days or a few weeks. It's about having a long-term strategy that sits behind it, that you kind of grow over time. So people talk about the flywheel, and it's really true. You have to get that flywheel turning, and over time it kind of turns faster and faster, and eventually it runs on its own. Smaller organizations, it tends to take a little bit longer for them to get on board with that. So you do find very often that you try things for a few weeks, it doesn't quite work, and it's like, do we need to turn this off? And the answer invariably is no. Yes, it might not be working yet. It might be that things need to change a little bit, but turning it off is only going to hold you back.
Love that. And I know that Aira in particular specializes in inbound marketing, right? So for the folks that don't really understand inbound marketing, could you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, sure. I suppose a facetious answer is probably that it's really just digital marketing. It's a term that was coined by HubSpot many years ago. HubSpot is a software provider in the marketing space, and they allow you to set up things like marketing automation and so on. So inbound really it's around creating great content that gets you in front of your customers at each stage of their buying cycle, and gets you to a point where you're engaging with them, you're bringing them into your business, and then you're keeping them happy as well. So that they have this kind of concept around content at every stage of when a customer is looking for you, when they find you, and when they are a customer as well.
Love that. And I'm a massive fan of HubSpot, by the way. I've been around HubSpot for about 10 or 12 years now, so I'm a big advocate, and I've had a lot of success with it as a client of HubSpot. So, so can you just tell us a little bit about, the old way of doing marketing was all about push, or hunting marketing, right? Telling about features, benefits, advantages. But inbound marketing is very different, isn't it? It's about answering people's questions. Can you tell us a bit more about how you do that with inbound?
Yeah, I suppose you need to think about your content as a magnet. So go back to the 80s is probably a good cliched example where it was all about getting on the phones and selling as hard as you possibly can do. But those days have gone. And if you think about how people buy, it's not that kind of linear cycle where you go, "Well, I need something, so I'm going to go and find it, and then I'm going to go and buy it." Like, people are complicated. So you've got this spaghetti of decision making where you've got kind of buyer's remorse before you've even bought something. You're researching different companies and different options and different products. You're having conversations with people, conversations with yourself as well. And you're going through that cycle of, do I actually want to buy this? So the idea around having content that pulls people in at each stage of that thought process is kind of underpins the way that HubSpot and inbound marketing does things. So you're making sure, again, that you've got your content there at each stage of that process, and you're acting like a magnet so that when people are ready to buy, they've almost got no choice but to at least consider you because they've seen you so often along that buying process.
Love that, love that. And you've been doing this for quite a while now. Aira's been around in particular. Blush is a relatively new business. Aira's been around for a while. You've seen a lot of changes. What are the challenges? I hear about things like Web3 and AI and stuff like that. So let's just dig into that a little bit, can we, Matt? Please, can you give us a bit of a steer on where all of that's going? What are the challenges ahead?
I suppose you mentioned Web3 and AI, so technical challenges. AI has definitely flipped things on its head over the last few months. It's something that's been around for a long time, but with Chat GPT, it's just that more people have become aware of it. So more people are able to go and write a blog post in 2 minutes flat just by sending a prompt into a tool. Whether that blog post is actually a good blog post and really answers questions that your customer has, it might do, but I still don't think that you can replace human creativity in this because there's a lot of nuance in content creation. So yes, you can feed a machine a prompt and get an answer out of it, but it doesn't understand nuance. It's just taking kind of prompts from elsewhere and almost rehashing it. So that's a challenge because customers think that everything is faster now and easier, and it's not always the case. Like, yes, use technology to speed your life up. Yes, use technology to kind of help with ideas and so on. But that creativity that we naturally have as people, that can't be replaced. And there's a challenge there around the perception of it. Should
we embrace it or should we run? What do you think? I've seen a lot of people do both, and a lot of people have run, right? What are your thoughts?
I'm a massive geek. So anything that is technology related, I'm 100% on board with. So I don't think we run from it. I think you have to embrace it or you're going to get left behind. Every time we have a revolution of some sort, you need to embrace it. So this is an evolution of what we've had for a while, but working out how to make it work for you and not getting to the point where you're wholly reliant on AI. That's the way that I think we should be thinking about this. So again, yes, use it to make your life easier. Yes, use it to kind of give you those seed ideas and embrace that side of it. But don't run away from it either, because if you do, you are going to get left behind.
It's like any system, right? The system's there to take the legwork out of the things that we're doing. So, the 80-20 Pareto rule, let Chat GPT or whatever people are using do the hard work, and then, as you said, add the nuances afterwards. I would imagine. Would that be your advice?
Yeah, 100% agree. Again, if you end up fully relying on it, it just makes you lazy. And when you get lazy in marketing, that is when you open yourself up to competitors getting ahead of you. So don't get lazy, I suppose, is the message.
Love that. Okay, so if you could now kind of start to look through the world through the lens of some binoculars, where do you think you're going to be? You've come a long way in 5 years. Where do you think as marketeers we're going to be in 5 years from now?
There's a lot of change at the moment, and especially over the last few months as well, and I suppose the last 12 or 18 months. We had 10 years or more of things from a marketing perspective actually being pretty good. Most businesses were growing. Most businesses could get their flywheels turning because more money was being spent by consumers. We're in a bit more of a difficult period now where things are slowing down and people are finding things more challenging. I personally think that's a good thing because it means that you have to really work out what is going to work for you and what's going to generate ROI. And combine that with the technology that we're starting to see coming through, there is really needing to be a change of how we approach things. So that kind of real strategic thinking around what works and what doesn't, what actually generates ROI and what's just a vanity metric. I think that's where we're going to have to double down over the next few years at least. Because if we carry on the way we're going and just throwing money at everything and anything that we possibly can, it's going to fall apart at some point. So I guess just being a bit smarter about how we're doing things and make sure we're measuring things properly. That's what I'm focusing on at the moment.
I love that. Yeah, measure, measure, measure. The founder of Action Coach, a chap called Brad Sugar, says marketing is maths. Follow the numbers, right?
Yeah, completely agree.
It's all about following the numbers. Marketing is a numbers game. I love that. That's brilliant. Let's talk a little bit. Thank you for sharing that, Matt. I'd like to talk a little bit about your personal journey as well, though, because I know the folks will be interested in that. So you've been in business for a while now. What have been your biggest learnings?
I suppose letting go is the first one. I mean, again, that's a real cliche, but you go through stages as you build a business where you feel like you're the one that can do things the best. And spoiler, you can't. There's always somebody who's better than you, and feel like you have to do everything because it's your business. Once you start to realize that you need to let go of things, that's firstly when life gets easier and you get more headspace and therefore you can actually do more to grow your business, but also you're letting people grow. So if you are hiring people and giving them roles and responsibilities, giving them the opportunity to do a really good job and to take that on and to kind of grow in their roles, I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned. So now I'm at the stage where I don't try and do everything. I almost cherry pick, I suppose, is one way of saying it. But yeah, I try and let people flourish.
I love that. We had a conference, a big conference, BizX, last week, and we had Stephen Bartlett as one of our guests, and he was saying, learn to fail quickly, because the faster you fail, the faster you learn. What are your thoughts about that? Then you talked about empowering your team. What are your thoughts about learning to fail quickly?
Yeah, agreed. And be okay with not being right and be okay with failing as well. I think it's drilled into you from, or it used to, especially when I was growing up, it's drilled into you from quite a young age that you have to kind of strive to succeed. But it's okay to get things wrong. That's the only way that you learn. And again, like in business, when you're leading a business, you feel like you have to have the answer and you have to have the right answer all the time. But actually you can't and you don't. So being okay with that and being okay with failing and flipping it around and trying something else, that's how you can really push on. But staying nimble and doing that quickly is really important.
Fantastic. Here's a tricky one. Here's a bit of a nuance of the question I just asked you, slightly different though. So what advice, Matt, would you give to your 18-year-old self?
And I'm just turned 40, so that's quite a while ago. Buy Bitcoin would be a good start.
Okay.
But also, I think I've taken the right path. I've made a lot of mistakes, and everybody does. But I think if I was looking back on where I was when I was 18, I always wanted to run a business, and I always wanted to do something for myself. So I think giving myself the advice of just kind of staying true to that path, and just trying your best to kind of keep a strong head on your shoulders and not get distracted, because again, when you're kind of working out how to grow a business, there's always a lot going on around it, and there's a lot of distractions there. So just kind of trying to make sure that you stay on that right path is really important. And that's probably the thing that I would say to myself. I haven't used exactly the right words there. I'm not quite sure how I'd word it, but that's the message.
What inspires you, Matt?
Seeing people succeed. I've always wanted to get on, but as I get older as well, and as I've grown up, I think seeing people, whether it's people that I work with or friends or family or anybody who's around me, just actually wanting them to succeed. By doing that, I think it helps you get on as well. But having people within Aira that have kind of started as very junior people and kind of moved on and up through kind of management. We have one who's now almost at director level. That's really inspiring to see people succeed. And the more that happens around me, the more I want to kind of keep pushing and keep going, and that really drives me.
Fantastic. Success through your team. That's absolutely brilliant. Matt, tell me, what's the hot news in your business right now?
That's a really good question. It's a really busy time because, as I said before, there is a lot of change that's going on, and businesses are finding it harder to grow. So there's a lot of question marks over, like, again, how do we measure this? How do we know we're getting ROI? But also we're seeing businesses who really want to invest and know that as things have turned, yes, it's got harder, but they have to double down. And when we come out of the other side of whatever's going on at the moment, it's the ones who really kind of push and move on that are going to come out ahead. So I suppose that's not really hot news, but it's a slightly different approach to the one that we've seen for the kind of last decade or so. So really kind of working with our clients and acting more as strategic consultants, that's been really important over the last 6 months, and I don't think that's going to change.
There's a great idea around when times are tough. It's actually when you should be stepping up with your marketing, right? Because a lot of people are stepping back. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. And again, you asked about Web3 and you asked about AI before. Embracing the fact that there is new technology that's around. This new technology isn't right for everybody, but it gives you the opportunity to kind of push on. So embracing that side of things, as well as the nuance and the kind of creative thinking that we have as people, that's where it's at.
Fantastic, Matt. You've been an absolutely brilliant guest. Thank you so much for coming on today. How can folks get in contact with you?
LinkedIn's probably the easiest. My name's on the screen, so do a search on LinkedIn, or if you want to drop me an email, either matt@aira.net or matt@blush.net. Both of those work.
Love it, Matt. Thank you so much for coming on. You've been a brilliant guest.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It's great to see you. Folks, if you want to come and join Business Spotlight and be a guest like Matt has just been, we'd love to see you. Please get in touch, click or type apply in the comments below. We'll do a little interview with you, and then we'll schedule a full session and we'll get you on Business Spotlight. Until next time, thank you so much for joining. Bye for now.